You know, I lived in Los Angeles for the first 4 years of Dave Roberts' tenure as the Dodgers manager, and not one person ever asked me if we're related. That's racist. It's like I smoke menthol cigarettes and have Japanese tattoos for nothing.
Well, hello, boys and girls.
Hi.
What a wonderful day it is today in our money-based economy. Well, sit back and relax and get ready for the guy who's about to ruin everything.
I'm puzzled. Are you really seriously suggesting that Jesus Christ was a mushroom?
Wait, Jesus was a mushroom Roberts.
Yes. You are dealing with a secret cult, a secret society.
Welcome to Waning Interest.
Welcome to the Waning Interest Podcast, number uno cero, April 27th, 2023. The Babbling Dabbler, the pinball brain in your favorite machine, the smallest click on the internet. It's like a diary or a book, but not as stale or coherent. From a more mentally challenged Forrest Gump, but I like to think of it as if Mikey and Mouth from the Goonies played a lot of bareback leapfrog, and then a few months later, "Hi, what is this?" Anyway, hi, how are you? Welcome to 110 of the Waning Interest Podcast. And there, what do we have? There it is. There. Look, it's the Kate. Hey, notice both the it's my Millennium Falcon. Always getting work done. Notice both license plates are blacked out. Got to be safe. Don't want to dox anybody, because, my plates aren't really mine. Tried to laugh, but... So, where do we start? So, because I wanted to say that... I call it Kate Beckinsale. That's the running joke. If you're a new whip, part of the Waning Interest Podcast pack, there's a Patreon page. All the links should be everywhere. Wherever we are, all over the place, with, like I said, smallest click on the internet. But that's how I like it. I like it small. Remember, all those Skinner tunes, they were created. It was when they were nothing, when they were small, most of them. And like Guns N' Roses, any band, it's all the stuff that's your favorites, usually the stuff that was when nobody knew who the fuck they were. And that's what this is going to be, until I'm tits up. And then all of a sudden, everybody's going to go, why weren't we watching this when he was not tits up? I don't know. But like my, I had a little Nissan that I drove for a bit before the Kate. But before that, my last vehicle was a red Ford Ranger that I bought brand new in '95 when I was working at WIOD, and I had that thing until 2017, and I called it the Scarlet Cougar because I'm a Leo, and I wanted a cat name, and I wanted something to do with the color, so my daughter and I called it the Scarlet Cougar because that's her actual first name, which is pretty neat. At least I thought so. But then I'm a complete dork. She liked it. She's questioning, Kate, what? Kate Beckinsale, what? That's your thing? Yeah, it's my thing. Because she's just, what? To look at. And also, normally women that gorgeous. They could do, they could be on the cover of everything. Usually aren't that, great of an actress, but she can fucking do anything. She's hilarious and she does serious stuff and she can kick some fucking ass. That's what I'm saying. Maybe that's why I think she's so hot. Oh my gosh, I have to light this again. There was something on the filter, sisters. So, yeah, so now I have the Kate, and I got to name everything. And it's also a little joke on not only the Millennium Falcon, Millennium Falcon, but also little twist on the staying in the dork category. A little twist on the Guardians of the Galaxy with the Milano and then the Benatar ships. Because your vehicle is your ship, a lot of us, we don't think about it that way. So, well, depending on what you drive, I guess. But that is your ship. I was thinking about it the other day driving. I was going a decent distance that I hadn't driven in a while. A little over 10 miles. Because I don't like to do that. Go very far. And I just started thinking as I was driving, listening to some tunes, going, man, remember back in the day, all this distance that I just went in 10 minutes, all those miles I just went in 10 minutes, how long that would have taken 200 years ago. But even on a horse, yeah, but you can't run them the whole time. Just because you think about these things, especially as you get older and all these people that you worked with, and just more and more people end up tits up, and you're just, it makes you think more, makes you go back and realize how, I don't know, it makes me, not you, at least, this is why they want me to take medicine? Is this it? Right. But also at the same time, when you're driving a vehicle that you've taken back to the mechanic that you bought it from 5 times in the 5 months that you've had it, you're also thinking at any moment, this is going to go, and I'm going to have to pull out the AAA card again. And it's so not fun tipping those guys. So, what are we going to next? Well, we got that out of the way. We got the vehicle stuff, right? Scarlet Cougar. That Ranger, yeah. Was that 23 years? 95 to 17? 22 years? And I put a brand new engine in it in, was it 2010? Or 20? Somewhere around 2010. I think it was. Instead of buying something new, I was like, wait, I can get a brand new Jasper engine. It's like 99.9% right off the factory line, and instead of going through all that pain in the ass of changing stuff and whatever, because everything else was fine on that Ranger. It was just the engine, because it had 260,000 miles on it from going all over the place, from Florida to Tennessee and back many times, and New Orleans, Florida back, South Florida, and then to Tennessee, and then all the way across to California. So it had some miles, so instead I just put a new engine on, because I want to keep my baby. And had it for another 7 years, and then realized, man, I don't leave my apartment very often because I work out of the apartment. It just sits there. What am I paying for all this stuff? I walk to everything I need mainly, and there's Uber. I don't want to pay insurance anymore. I don't want to pay the emissions thing every year. I don't want to do the registration bullshit every year. All the stuff. And that last couple years in LA, that was some of the best parts of it, not having a vehicle. Just and not having to worry about parking. You just get dropped off and get picked up later on. But sometimes I would take the bus. If I was going somewhere easy, just over the hill, like to the Comedy Store or whatever, I just take the bus right over the hill because it was right there at Laurel Canyon. Get off at the corner, where it turns into Crescent Heights, right there by the Chateau Marmont, and just walk to the store, and then I'd Uber home. Or sometimes Sam Tripoli would bring me home after Conspiracies Now, which was, I mentioned last week, and also brought up a flyer, like the first one, I think it was last week, Whip 109, maybe Whip 108, I don't know. Anyway, I realized I had a one still from Conspiracies Now, and this is in the basement of the Comedy Store, right under the original room that they converted into this podcast studio, and like facing, like the camera's coming from a room where Brett was doing all the control stuff, little control room there, and then another room next to him, next to that room was an actual podcast studio where they put cameras in since, but for the beginning it was just like a little radio studio where they'd record podcasts. All comedians would use it during the week for their podcasts when that started to pop. But this is Conspiracies Now, and this, Sam told me to take, these are the guests, which were, who are these guys? What was it? They did a podcast called We Three Trolls, and Sam had them on, and they did, a lot of conspiracy stuff. I think I listened to one of their podcasts afterwards, because I didn't know or right before, because I didn't know who they were, and he sent me the stuff, the open and all that, because I was his Ed McMahon, and then I'd come in at the end. But on this one, he had to do a set up in the original room, so he's like, I gotta get up there, so take over. So I took over talking to these guys, and we were fucking like 15 minutes just going until Sam came back, going off about it. It was hilarious. And this dude Chris, this guy, those clothes are the only clothes he had at the time. Those clothes are many, many months old, where he had this thing. It was part of his act, where he looked like a bum. They're rags, but he actually kept cleaning them, so he doesn't smell like he looks. It didn't anyway. I don't know if he's still around, but you would think that the guy, he coming at you and looking what he looked like, and be like, oh, Jesus, just get ready, like you're getting on the bus sitting next to a homeless person. No offense, but a lot of them smell. But this dude, no, he smelled cleaner than me. He actually washed those things, and Sam went over and was like, dude, what are you doing? But he had this thing, this thing that he wanted that part of his, not just his act, that's how he lived. He was like, that's how much of a minimalist he was. He was. That was hilarious. And those We Three Trolls, and they've got the lizard shit on the green screen. That was a green screen we were sitting in front of, and that was one of the things Brett could do in the control room, was change all the images. Depending on what we were talking about, he'd be flipping that, or I'd be in there with him if I wasn't on and going, oh, what about this? Put this up, or we'd be bouncing ideas back and forth what to put on the screen as Sam was talking to the guests, whatever guest was on. But anyway, I found that, and I mentioned Conspiracies Now many times, and and look at that, I'm wearing a Junkyard t-shirt. Ah, Jesus, how fucking weird. That's 2019, somewhere June, I think, maybe. May or June is, wow. Almost an anniversary somewhere. But doing that show, I don't know if some of you guys may have heard of Brody Stevens, who was a comedian who committed S back in 2019, and it was a couple days after he was on with on the show with Sam and I. And I remember when he left, because he had to run to Flappers to do a set. I think it was Flappers. Remember the last thing, because I had just met him that night myself. And because I never stayed late, he did the late sets. And he was in Zach Galifianakis stuff. He had a show with him on, was it MTV, I think, years ago. And he had, he had issues, but God, what a character. 818. And it was so weird to think, but I had patted him on the shoulder as he was walking away, leaving, we were cross paths. I was going to sit down as he had gotten up, to leave. And I was sitting down with Sam, and the last thing I did was pat him on the shoulder real soft a couple times as he was walking away, because I thought he was just so adorable. And then I saw the tweet. Was it a tweet or something on Friday? That was a Wednesday night. And then it was Thursday right before noon, or Friday right before noon, I think. And I saw something online that had just bounced. And I hit YouTube because I knew Sam was doing his sports podcast at the time that was live. And I knew it was on for, he did it with Ari Shaffir and Jason. Was it Jason? Yeah. And anyway, popped that on and just about to text him to see if he wasn't sure. And I see, and then he was getting the texts while he was on the air from other people going, whoa, whoa. It's insane. Anyway, didn't want to go that way, but Brody was funny. It was Brody Stevens stuff you can find. Enjoy it online. Let's see what's next. What's next? Oh, mentioned. Yeah, I bumped and I jumped. I bumped and I jumped. I mentioned before last, was it Whip 109? I opened the cold open. Was it the Lucy thing that she did Whip 96? If you look at the thumbnail for Whip 96 on YouTube and Rumble, little artwork done by my friend from Australia's daughter that I'd known. And the reason I went over there is, I got to have somebody to see. And really, I wanted to show this. This is Lucy's mom and I, 1989, when I was over there in Melbourne. And then I saw her, what was it? Was that 2019? Right. And then her and her husband and the kids, I got to meet them for the first time. They came on a trip to the West Coast. They hit Santa Monica for a few days and Venice, and then they went up the coast to San Francisco, I believe, and one other place before heading back. Super cool. So after I took that pic, I put these two together and sent those to her and went, ha, hee, ha, ho. Kind of neat. But that was where I first met Lucy and the other two, who were just, it was so cool walking down the fucking boardwalk. That's in Santa Monica. That's on the promenade in Santa Monica, right outside where we ate the corporate version of, oh my God, my favorite place, in Jim's place, Jim Morrison's place. Right, I can't say the name. It's killing me. Maybe I'll think of it later. My God, it's the place I want to tell Beckham to go to all the time when he goes to Cali. Why can't I say it? Barney's Beanery. Jesus. We ate at the corporate when they decided to put out a couple of others from the OG Barney's Beanery there in West Hollywood, where Morrison, there's a plaque there, Morrison pissed on the floor a couple times. So, and they were on the beach. They had an Airbnb on the beach in Venice, and I ended up staying there because we went back after eating and walked down the boardwalk and shot the shit and then had some drinks. And where they were, it was really tough for the Uber to get there if I called one. And they were like, just stay. I mean, we got plenty of room. It's this big old fucking place. So, I did, and I left the next day. But the kids, it was so great to listen to all the questions they had. What was Mum like? Oh, that sounded British, not Australian. Ugh, that was gross. Terrible, Wayne. Terrible. Jesus. Ooh. Asking me all these questions. And then, of course, after answering, and that's where, I should have got that picture out. You know, I've already got the picture of her there. These two, I should have the one that they sent me, because I had completely forgotten because it'd been 30 years, 30 something, almost, 40 years. 2019, we graduated in 89. When she came over to my place, when I was a kid, not in this house, but the house after this, when we rented this place out, and we had this big place a few miles away. In my stepbrother and I's bedroom, it was a big old farmhouse, so we had half of the upstairs all to ourselves. It was 2 rooms. It was huge. Anyway, my grandfather used to go through the junkyard and fix stuff and then give it away or hang it in his garage. And one of them was this Miller Lite sign, the neon thing on it. And my stepbrother liked it and I liked it. And at one point said it enough times where my grandfather said, "Yeah, take it home." So we did, and we hung it in our Miller Lite sign in our bedroom in 1987, 88, 89. And it's hilarious. And she saw it, being over at my house once, the first time. That was cool. And I thought she kept laughing at it so much, like having that in a bedroom. It was so foreign to her, being a foreigner herself. It was kind of a joke, but I don't know. It was when they had this little party after we graduated, a couple weeks later, all the 5 or 6 exchange students were leaving, and so they had this little party for them, and I was there, and that's where I showed her my ticket. I'd already bought my ticket with my graduation money. Going, told you I was coming, because nobody didn't think, they're coming. My sisters were here, and they had friends a couple of years ago. Nobody's ever come. I'm like, there's my ticket, which was stupid because got that before the visa, thinking I was going to be able to get a work visa, and then no, you're not even able to. I had to get a visitor visa and not be able to work, but I made some money. Well, slut. No, it's whore. Oh, anyway, I decided to take the sign, the Miller Lite sign, put it in a suitcase, and give it to her to take home because she liked it, thought it was so cool. And she was like, "Oh, wow, more luggage to take home. Thanks, asshole." Those weren't her words. She said "oi" afterwards. "Oi, Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi." She didn't say that at all. She said, "How are you, mate? You fucking cunt." So, when I got there a few months later, that was June, and then September is when I got over there. She hadn't taken it to her. It was in her room, but sitting on a thing, but she hadn't gotten the plugs. Their electrical stuff's different. She hadn't got it switched, I don't think, yet. She got it done before I left, but then I forgot about it. And then we, of course, stayed in touch back when, it cost you $100 to talk for 10 minutes before email and all that. And sending stuff, still takes a while, but not as long. But what was I saying? So I'd forgotten about it. And one of the things that the kids, when we were walking down the boardwalk towards Venice, her and her husband are, they're, I don't know, 20 yards in front of us walking, and the kids and I are babbling. They're asking me all these questions. I'm asking this, and Aiden's really tall, so actually I was like this, and they're laughing at the stories, and then they said something about a sign in our bar. I know, what? What are you talking about, Miller? What? In your bar? What are you talking about? In our house, in a bar, we have a sign you gave our mom. A sign I gave your mom. What? Miller Lite. What? You guys still hit me, and I went, "You still fucking have that? Get the fuck out of here!" And I'm going, "Oh, sorry," because they're underage. Get the fuck out of here! No, I bet it myself. Beverly Hills Cop. Get the fuck out! No, I bet it myself. Bronson Show and Eddie. So I'm like, I went, "Hold on, guys," or "I gotta go." I ran up to her and her husband. I go, "Wait a minute!" I get in between them, going, "You guys still have that Miller Lite sign? Get the fuck out of here!" No, I made it myself. Yeah, and they started laughing. I'm like, holy shit. When you get home, you gotta fucking send me a pic. And of course, I didn't get that ready for this. I got that ready because it's cuter. But she did send me a pic where she's like, sit right by the sign. It's sitting. It's so neat. All those years later, that fucking thing still lives. My grandfather would be proud. He pulled it out of the junkyard and fixed it. Wait a minute. That actually might have come from the restaurant. My grandparents had a restaurant. It might have been from the restaurant. Bar that they had. McLeod's. Might have been that, but then again, whatever. He had a bunch of them. He had a bunch of stuff in the garage. He would give stuff away. He'd give him his gifts. He'd clean stuff up, fix them, and oh wow, this is super cool. Like a sign that still lives in 2023 that he fixed or whatever. The thing is from the fucking 70s. Anyway, where were we? So, all right, Lucy's mom. Like I said, go look at the thumbnail of Whip 96. That's her youngest's handiwork after them listening to me talk about mushrooms after we got to their Airbnb and we started having drinks and I'm talking to the adults, but of course they come hanging around because they want to hear all this stuff. Yeah, and they were fine with what I was saying. So she made this Jesus was a mushroom thing. It's so beautiful, and I should have pulled that up, but I pulled it up before. So, trying to keep it, you stupid ass. Maybe I do have it. Hold on. Maybe I do have it. Slides. Come on, that would be awesome. Nope. Whip 96, nothing. Shite. That would have been awesome. Thought I did. I don't know why. I know I pulled it up on the whip before. Pretty sure. Anyway, Whip 96, you can see. You can see it's the thumbnail. And just one of the most beautiful gifts I've ever gotten. Still, to this day, Lucy is my queen. Well, no, she's my queen. I'm her jester. A really good one. Loyal. And stupid. And sometimes funny. All right, so. Busy. Didn't mean to do that. Because it's up here. And it's down there. And that's there. And then that's there. And then we've got, so through my Leonard Skinner rabbit hole that I've gone down in my bunch of weeks, not having having stuff to do, but not having a super gig. More stuff just continues to pop up on my YouTube feed, and I hit this one video about this, and I didn't put the Ed King there. That stuff was on the screen. I just took a screenshot because I went, holy shit, listening to Ed King talk, and that's the guy who made Sweet Home Alabama lick. That's him right there, among other stuff. He's fucking awesome. But I went, look at that, Ed King, sitting next to a mushroom fountain that actually has a fucking pineal gland. That's right. It's up, on the top, pineal gland, a pine cone, which is a representation of the pineal gland, which the mushroom cleans off, so you can shake hands with the universe and feel healed and realize you are eternal. Kind of like Skinner music. And, his real last name is King. That is the king that the good books are referring to, whichever region you're in, mushrooms or Hindus, mushrooms, that's their actual god, and all their gods are anthropomorphizations. That's why they're all blue and hermaphrodites and looking, at least, and it's and why they think cows are holy. Holy shit. Whatever. But then in other places it's ayahuasca. Other places it's peyote. Either way, you get to the same thing. It's some very similar shit where, it's all one. This is just it's a joke. It really is a fucking joke. Which is when people are depressed, they come to me and ask me for stuff because they know I'm a goofball, and I've had a lot of depressed people come to me to, just look for somehow to cheer them up, because they might not think I'm really hilarious, but somehow I cheer them up with my goofiness and my pointing this out, whatever. But I always try to go back to it's a joke. Just remember, it's a joke. That's what I do to get out of my depression, along with a little mushy. Once a year. And that's one of the reasons why the mental problems of the world are there, because, especially in this country, because we've gotten away from the actual religion, which is psychedelics, which you should be doing once or twice a year to remember, that's right, we're all one. And your ego goes, and that's what's necessary. And as you can see, especially the United States runs on nothing but ego. In a world where ego was king. Synchronicities. Sorry for the audio only. The biggest group of the whips. I don't get it, man. What, am I ugly? Yes. Thank you. So funny that, because this all started audio only anyway, up until 79 or 80 or 78, when I came back after a bunch of months after putting this place back together. Somewhere around there where I started doing this video thing. If you're new, what was the point? I don't know. When? Don't do the why is Gomorrah. Too late. So anyway, to keep going with the Skinner thing from the last couple of, from Whip 108, whatever, I use the Second Helping album as that's the thumbnail. And I've, again, I mentioned Whip 109. You got to check out Craig Reed's podcast. Go to Craig Reed, the Stoned Roadie Show. If you're a Skinner fan, you'll fucking love it. Craig Reed is he survived the plane crash in '77. Plus, he's the crew from what's your name, little girl? Oh Lord, we got such a mess. Seems like one of the crew got it. What's the line? Oh my God! Oh, that gummy's hitting. What are we, 33? Yeah. Gummy's hitting. One of the crew got through one of the guests, and the police say, can't drink in the bar anymore. What a shame. That crew member, that's a true story, and Craig Reed was the crew member that got him booted, because they just assumed that all of them were, because he got in a fight with somebody. And they just assumed that the rest of them had to go too, because they were all, but they kind of were. That was a good move, because they all were. In all the other stories with the fights and the brawls, they were all for one. So if one of them was getting into it, they all jumped in to help. So it was a smart move for them to kick them all out, even though it was a shame. But they went up and had some champagne. Yeah, so check out the Stone Roadie podcast and Stone Roadie Show. Stone Roadie Show. That dude is 71 years old now. And he does the podcast mainly to try to raise money for the handful of folks that I went through the list of that are still alive, that also survived the plane crash that most people have never heard of. He mainly does the podcast to try to raise money for the folks that are left that are still suffering from shit, like Leslie Hawkins and Paul Welch and Mark Howard. Just they can't believe how they haven't been taken. They weren't. If you go into it and see how those people were taken care of that survived the crash, you'd be, what the fuck? They should have been taken care of for life. Never ever had to worry about another fucking thing. Nope. And that was 1977. I think 5 people from the 6, 5 including Craig, or 6 including Craig. Something like that. Anyway, sorry, not to get that wrong. Didn't mean to, but no disrespect. It just, there's a lot of stuff in this thing. But what a story. But check out the Stone Roadie show. And Griff Martin, it's Griff Martin, right? Yeah, that's his co-host. Guy's great. Helps him out with stuff. And Griff has done a bunch of video where you can, he's gone around and bunch of sites and stuff, like for Alan Collins' car crash and many other things. And he's super, super cool. Plays guitar himself. He's Craig's co-host, and also there's this lady, Kathy Godsey, who was a big fan of Skynyrd. She's, I think she's 10 years older than me, and she was a big fan back, and she met the band in, I can't remember, it was an early time, and then she actually got to go to Alan Collins' house. I think it was before his car. Yeah, it was before his car crash, but it was after the plane crash. It was during the Rosin and Collins, or after Rosin and Collins. And so she's been on to help out, and I've sent some stuff to her and back and forth, and with Craig, and hitting it off because I kind of feel like family. So she co-hosts with him sometimes as Saturday Night Special, which I think there's going to be one this week. Yeah, she said there's going to be one this weekend. And I'm guessing she enjoys the whip. Hopefully I'm hoping she passes it on to Craig. But he's so funny. Stone Roadie Show. He's a pisser. That's a fun one to watch. There's 71 of them, and I think I've definitely watched more than half of them. Some are longer than us, some are longer than others. Some are only 30 minutes. Some are only an hour. Some are 2.5 hours. But they've had some great guests. Mike Estes, who was part of Skynyrd for a bit in the early 90s with the tribute band. Back when it still had most of the original members. Well, not most, but a good chunk. And he had known them since he was a kid. And he called up what's the story? He called him up, just asking for a band name, and actually got Craig. And Craig was like, oh, what? You're a guitar player? Otherwise I would have hung up on you. Well, okay, here, let me do a little 3-way call. And he actually called Alan Collins and goes, this kid is a guitar player. He's looking for a band name. What would you do, Alan? Alan Collins said, Hell and High Water. All right, Hell and High Water, that's what he said. Fucking Mike Estes named his band Hell and High Water. And then later on ended up being in Skynyrd in the 90s. He's fucking hilarious. He's been on a bunch, and he tells some great stories. He was good buddies with Ed King. He's got some music that he's trying to put out that he says it with Ed King. Ed's passed, but his wife, Sharon, him and Ed, it's got like 20-ish songs that they did that, 50-50 is their thing. So they're trying to put it together where he can release some, or at least release some, and re-record some with his band, Skinny Molly, out of South Florida. They tour Europe, do a lot of stuff. Mike Estes is fun to listen to. He's great. They've had other people on tell stories. You're like, whoa, shit. It's fun. Check out the Stone Roadie Show. All right, enough promoing, everybody. There's not supposed to be any commercials on the whip. Jesus, just did a fucking 2.5-minute commercial for the Stone Roadie Show. Seriously, if you're a Skynyrd fan, you'll enjoy it, and he does it, like I said, to raise money for the folks that need it, that from the plane crash. And he was in it, and he's not asking for anything. It's all for those ones, because most of his injuries were just his head, and more psychological. But he does a lot of fasting, so he cleans his brain. He almost does a trip sort of thing. He's big into fasting, just, like intermittent fasting. Smart. Do it. It is good. I went 13 days was my longest. I was going for the longer you go, you'll end up with a bit of a psychedelic trip. Speaking it, look at that psychedelic trip. There's Ed King. Oh, and now I wanted to do this. Go back to Neil. Let's remember what time is it? Right around 40ish, so I can tell Neil Rogers. I told a story in Whip 109 about Neil Rogers, the Neil God, Florida, Miami radio god for many years, that I was lucky to cut my teeth with, along with Phil Hendry was on right after him, and then Rick and Suds, which I'll get to, were the morning show when I first started. It was Rick and Suds, Neil, Phil, 6 to 10, 10 to 2, 2 to 6, and then Sports Talk, 6 to 8. Just fun shit all the way through Monday, and it was fun radio, not. It was weird, where some people just. I was one of them that used to assume that AM radio shows, what, just AM. This must be like right wing talk shit, boring Rush Limbaugh type stuff. And that's not what we were. It was insane when I got turned on to the station when I was in radio school. Oh, it isn't what I thought. This is awesome, and then didn't know a few months later, I'm working here. Holy shit. But I told a story about one of my checks that was fucked up. I said 65 hours I was working. It was like, no, I meant 55. Like 3 weeks in a row, I was like working like 55 hours a week. And I was only a part-time guy. But because when we moved from Miami to Hollywood into our new studio after we got sold, when Paxson bought IOD, in late '96, we had to take everything was on cart in Miami. It was the old way, with everything like 8-track type sort of thing. All the drops, we had cart racks, all the commercials, promos, almost everything was on cart or reel to reel. This new studio was all the digital stuff, so we had to take so much of that stuff first. We had to pack it all up and take it up there, and then in real time, not like today where we just drag and drop. But in real time, I had to dub everything into the computer. Some stuff was 5 seconds or 2 seconds, but some stuff was 2 minutes. Some stuff was 10 minutes. Then there was all these other things. It was a lot. So I was working like 55 hours a week for almost a month. And I get my check and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And the hours are right. And my hourly rate is right, but then the number is like, how can I have worked all these hours in 2 weeks? And how can this check be less than $300? I think it was less than $300. And my hourly rate was, it was just, what the fuck? Anyway, I told a story in Whip 109 where I went into the studio and during a commercial break, and Neil went, what? And he just went, bam, called the GM right away and went, what the fuck is this? You look at this, fix this. And it was, anyway, I realized that I had just listened to it again. I'd heard it again where I'm going through old stuff where there's a Neil Rogers radio. You'll see the thing on here. There's a YouTube page, and it's everywhere else too. This guy, I think he's in Seattle. I don't remember his name. Sorry, dude. But he takes care of a bunch of Neil stuff, where he gets stuff and some other IOD stuff, some Rick and Studs, kind of Rick and Studs stuff. He can't do the Phil Hendry thing because that's all his. But he curates that stuff, and he sees. I help him with things, and I see him post on Twitter, and I'm like, well, wait, nah, that's not right. Or on the YouTube page, like, well, that's actually not the right date you've got on there, because that was before this. And just because I listen to it and I can hear certain things, go, oh, I know when that was because I was there. And I'm like, wait, there's actually a thing I remember where Neil actually references the story that I told last week. And so I grabbed it off of I grabbed it, and you'll see. And
Get to that. Here's Roger's quote of the day. Wait a minute. Roger's quote of... Oh, I'm sorry. Quote of the... Oh, thank God it ain't the quote of the day. Roger Crotch, our corporate sales hole, our plastic sales guy who's in the building, I understand. His quote of the day is, generosity is giving more than you can, and pride is taking less than you need. Which I think what he's trying to say is pride is working for Paxson, taking less than you need. Attaboy, Roger. Ask Wayne Roberts about that. Ask the people with their talent checks every month. Taking less than you need, less than you earned, less than you deserve. It's the Paxson way. Thank you very much, Roger. That's a nice silk suit you're wearing, too, by the way. All plastic people wear nice, expensive silk suits. 10:05 at WIOD.
It's so fucking good. So good. All plastic people. He's trashing the general sales manager. Ah, so fucking awesome. Wonder why I'm the way I am. That was like my uncle. I got to work with, you're the coolest uncle. Just fucking get on here and trash him. And then, oh, I gotta hear it again. I gotta hear it. Do you want to hear it again?
Oh, before we get to that, here's Roger's quote of the day. Wait a minute.
Crotch.
Roger's quote of... Oh, I'm sorry, quote of the... Oh, thank God it ain't the quote of the day. Roger Crotch, our corporate sales hole, our plastic sales guy who's in the building, I understand. His quote of the day is, generosity is giving more than you can, and pride is taking less than you need. Which I think what he's trying to say is pride is working for Paxson, taking less than you need. Attaboy, Roger. Ask Wayne Roberts about that. Ask the people with their talent checks every month. Taking less than you need, less than you earned, less than you deserve. It's the Paxson way. Thank you very much, Roger. That's a nice silk suit you're wearing, too, by the way. All plastic people wear nice, expensive silk suits. 10:05 at WIOD.
Oh, man. So awesome. So glad that I pulled that to play. I've talked so much about Neil on this podcast, and 110 of these. Should have done that earlier. So fucking hilarious. Oh, man. And that was the thing. It was a weekly thing that guy would put out, and it came over. So we were all by ourselves in Hollywood, Florida, while the other stations were in Miami. In a building in Miami, all in a big cluster. Then we all moved into one big building, but after Clear Channel bought us. But we'd get this fax, and everybody would get it. I don't know if there was email yet. Was there email at that time? Anyway, he would this weekly thing and Neil would read them like, "What the fuck is this shit?" Yeah, turns out I'm really generous, huh? According to Roger Crotch, I'm a generous motherfucker. It was according to that check. Should we play it again?
Oh, before we get to that, here's Roger's quote of the day. Wait a minute. Roger's quote of... Oh, I'm sorry, quote of the... Oh, thank God it ain't the quote of the day. Roger Crotch, our corporate sales hole, our plastic sales guy who's in the building, I understand.
Plastic?
His quote of the day is, generosity is giving more than you can, and pride is taking less than you need. Which I think what he's trying to say is pride is working for Paxson, taking less than you need. Attaboy, Roger. Ask Wayne Roberts about that. Ask the people with their talent checks every month. Taking less than you need, less than you earned, less than you deserve. It's the Paxson way. Thank you very much, Roger. That's a nice silk suit you're wearing, too, by the way. All plastic people wear nice, expensive silk suits. 10:05 at WIOD.
The king. Another fucking king. That's what this one's all about, huh? Kings. The king of the ships. Right? The king of the ships. And of course, the Millennium Falcon is the greatest ship that everybody knows besides the Ark. You know, where they had 2 lions and both were male. And how the fuck did the lions keep going? I don't know. Funny story. Let's see. We gotta remove that. One of my next things I have to do is it's a little thing called pee-pee. So when I take a break to go make water, Miss Daisy, I gotta play something. And I don't think I've ever played this back, but this, I don't remember, Whip 93, I think, with Beckham, where I tell, speaking of the Aussie thing, I've already talked about that. Well, I first came across Rodney Rude, and that's a joke that I retell that I used to listen to over and over, because when I got to Australia, well, she told me about him, and then when I got there, she gave me a tape, or a friend of hers had a tape, and then I got another one, and this, like, kind of like Eddie Murphy, you know, Delirious, or Comedian was the cassette, Delirious was the HBO special, or Dice Rules, or whatever, you know, an album, but on cassette. And it was this old stuff of Rodney Rude, this Australian comedian, and I used to listen to it over and over while I was over there. And I got this one joke down, and here it is. When I told it to Beckham a long time ago, back when I was doing the podcast out of the living room. All right, I gotta go make water.
Friend who had a baby, and when the baby was born without the arms or legs or a body. It was just a head, but it was a good-looking head. Anyway, it's Head's 9th birthday, and his father said, "Come here, Head, got a nice present for you." Head said, "It's not another fucking hat, is it?" Now Head's 14, and he's in a swimming tournament.
That's wrong, dude.
Which is funny in itself.
So you started doing this whole bit?
Anyway, they say, "On your block, get set, go." And he dived in and went straight to the bottom. And no one took any notice of paying any attention. And after 5 minutes, someone rescued him, and he's really pissed off. And they said, "What happened, Head?" He said, "Oh, fuck, I got a cramp."
His name is just Head. What did they do? They just bawling?
Oh, I love that fucking so much. I haven't told that joke in so long. Oh, fuck, I got a cramp. He's just a head. He can't swim. Oh, fuck, I got a cramp. Anyway, now Head's 21. And he bowls in the antler.
Oh, God.
I hope you get the bowls part. The antler's a bar. Can't believe I'm telling this joke. He bowls up the bar. He says to the bartender, he says, "Give me a beer." The bartender gives him a beer. He said, "Now get the straw out of my collar. Now put it in the beer. Now put it in me mouth." He says, "Now, do you have dart competition at this hotel?" Hotel bar. Bartender says, "Yes." "Now get a dart and put it in my mouth. Feathers first."
What the fuck?
Now, wait. Now throw the fucking board at me.
What the fuck?
Beckham. What the fuck? Excuse, please. I had forgotten, actually. I messed the joke up there because I was pretty hammered. We did, I think that was Whip 93. I think that we did like 4.5 hours. Something like that. It was a long one. And a podcast too. Thanks, Neil. What? When? Why is Gomorrah? Because that's why. So I messed up part of the joke where the collar thing isn't the straw. The collar, it's after he bowls up to the bar, he says, "Now take the cigarettes out of my collar. Now put one in me mouth. Now light the bastard." And then it's, "Give me a beer, put a straw in it. Now put the straw in my mouth." Anyway, I fucked up the cigarette thing. It's one of my favorite fucking jokes of all time. And I think I've told it many times in previous whips. Michelle Williams, when I did Dawson's Creek, when I was lucky enough to get a co-star spot and have a couple scenes with Michelle Williams and Busy Phillips and Andrew McGinnis, my co-star, who turned out was from Maine as well. In between shots where, cut and everybody back to one, everything's all quiet, everything's get ready. We'll be like 10 minutes. Okay, we're all just sitting there. "My sister had this friend who had a baby." And everybody starts laughing except for Michelle, just looking at me like, "What the fuck?" Like Beckham. What the fuck? Everybody else is howling. The extras, Andrew, Busy, the director, the DP. Everybody's laughing like, "What?" I've told the story. I'm not going to tell it again. Anyway, Aussie. We kept the Aussie thing. I didn't even mean to keep the Aussie thing. Wow, more synchronicity. And, so good. So back to the Neil. Back to WID, the Neil Rogers Show YouTube page and Twitter and stuff. And the dude who curates it. He recently, right, are we doing this in order? Let me look at my stuff. Sorry, I have to get back. Bing, bang, yes. Oh, yeah, I'm there. The other day, he, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. He put up this picture. For the audio folks, it's a picture of Suds Coleman from the Rick and Suds Show, WIOD. They were on Waxy before that in the 90s and then the early 2000s, right? When did they finally leave the air? 2000, 2001? Somewhere around there. They were on for a while. And, what is this here? Hold on a second. Wait, I don't want to delete. I don't want to pull anything out that I don't want to pull out. That sounded really gross, didn't it? Thanks, Lisa. So, Suds was part of Rick and Suds, and was it 94 or 93? They were afternoons on WIOD before Phil Hendry took over afternoons, and they moved to mornings. Somewhere around 93, 94, maybe, 93, 94-ish. It was before I was there, not long before I got there. They had moved to the mornings from afternoons, and they were better. It was a better show in the afternoons. It was more of a laid-back, fun thing. Nothing graphic. And Suds was, like the Ed McMahon, but funnier. And he dropped bombs, but clean bombs. His bombs, even the dirty ones, were still somehow clean. Like, just a classic shit. Like, like the folk, like Rickles or, older comedians. That older comedy, that comedy from a long time ago, from the 60s, 70s, 50s, even the dirty stuff still had a clean part to it. Rodney Dangerfield, just not that he was Rodney, but Suds didn't talk much. It was almost all Rick. But when Suds said something, even if we went, ooh, it fucking wham, it was a home run. Almost everything he uttered was a home run. Even when he went, yeah, that's true. I mean, just he didn't say much, but when he did, he fucking murdered. And then when I first got into radio, I just wanted to be a rock jock until I saw what it was like. And I'm like, this is boring. This is basically you're saying the same fucking thing every day, and at least every week, because it's gonna be not a whole lot of freedom, And I'm me, and luckily, with the IOD thing and getting turned on to that in school while learning this jock thing's not going to be my thing probably. And that's what I wanted. Rick and I mean, Neil, I don't think I could be Neil, and I don't think I could be Phil. I mean, I have little flavorings of those, but I want to be Suds. I want to be a young, dirty Suds. That's all I ever wanted to be. And it turned out I did have a shot at that for a couple of years, and we won an award. My ex-wife and I did a radio show, and I was basically the Suds while she was the Rick. Anyway, or I just did the bomb dropping and didn't take anything seriously, but I was a little more filthy than Suds. But in that thinking beforehand and then actually getting to work with him and being their backup producer, their associate producer, but I was their producer, Adam's backup, for a couple of years. One of the parts of Rick and Suds that everybody knew that was a fan, that was a long running fan, was that Suds had no kids. Him and his wife had no kids until I came along and then started joking when I became part of the show that on the air every once in a while I'd call him Dad or just kind of some kind of funny reference, and he got it, whatever. Rick didn't really get it. It was just a little thing to make people go, huh? Suds, with the face that you see right there. Sorry, audio folks, but the link is there wherever you're listening. The link should be there for the video. You know that. Some of you do. Some of you don't bother. Some of you like to keep that radio, that theater of the mind, which was a bit more fun when you think about it. So with that whole thing that, I just want to be a young, dirty Suds, and I turned that little, just on my own, being a wise ass when I was at the board and Adam was out doing Payphone Challenge, where it was one of the things the Rick and Suds show was, Payphone Challenge was one of the bits on Thursdays where Adam would go out and call me back with the numbers of a couple numbers of a payphone, chunk of payphones that were in a certain spot that was populated. And then the guys would call a number on the air and try to get somebody to go, hey, you want to do something crazy for $610? 610 WIOD. So sometimes it would take a while to get somebody. Some people would just hang right the fuck up. It was fun radio if you're just listening, like, what? And Adam would sort of be on the side with a cell phone back in the early days of the cell phone. That's why he has cancer, probably. I don't think he has cancer. Does he have cancer? I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a long time. But he used to had one of those bricks, and he'd be, overweight watching and going, okay, yeah, ring, yeah, call this one. Somebody's over there. Yeah, oh, yeah, she's going to be great. Maybe, whatever. And so there was a three-way thing. So sexy sounding, doesn't it? So I'd be in the control room where Adam normally would be while he was out there. So sometimes when they weren't with him and just doing the normal thing, when it wasn't having him on the air at that point, sometimes I'd be able to, turn on my mic and drop something in funny. Like there was one time where Payphone Challenge, and I don't know what year it was, 98, and Adam was, and it was, so basically it was all four of us on the air at one time, because they're talking about, for some reason they were talking about TV shows and writing, good writing or whatever, and Adam on the phone out at Payphone Challenge said something about Third Rock from the Sun is the best written television show on TV, and then Rick's like, yeah, and I popped on and went, no, it's the Larry Sanders Show. And there was just a little bit of silence, and I remember Suds turning around, going, and hearing him go, yeah, that's the one. That's the one. Like, that's my daddy. And then Adam actually, I think, went, yeah, I think you might be right on that one. And of course, Rick had no clue what the fuck we were talking about. Because nobody knew what the fuck Rick was talking about. Anyway, not to bash Rick the dick. What? When? Why is Gamora? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out in Guardians 3. So in those times where I was able to pop in and just go blah, 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 or whatever, that's where I started feeding into that Suds being my dad thing. And then, not long after being in that Hollywood building, another sales manager, but the national sales manager, sweet guy, such a sweet guy. I won't say his name because that would be indiscreet. David, that's not his real name, but I did that for the joke. So, why is now? Because this guy was really sweet, but a fucking dolt. Fucking moron. And he was making truckloads of money. He didn't have to sell anything. He was the national sales manager. It was just, that stuff was going to automatically be on the air. You just talk about somebody just raking in the dough, doing nothing. I had sex with a woman on his desk once, but that's a totally different story. And I got locked into the sales room. We got locked into the sales room. I had to call my roommate. Dude, it was the weekend. Nobody else was there. So I take advantage of the time and the place that I have, especially when she says, let's go. I said, okay, right on his desk. I forgot about that part of the story. That didn't even mean to come out. Man, the shit that you... So, this guy, David, national sales manager, dolt, there was some point where he came up while I think it was the little kitchen area, and a handful of us were just standing there talking, and he came up, and I think somebody was talking about Rick and Suds, and he said something about Suds. I can't remember. And I went, dude, don't talk about my dad like that. And I was just fucking with him, of course, and he knew I was kidding, but he also was like, what? What are you talking about? That's my dad, man. Be cool. And he's like, Suds doesn't have kids. He's not he's not your dad. I go, dude, how do you think I got my gig here? That's how I know it's not something big, but keep it quiet, but no, yeah, he's my dad. You never heard that? He does this. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And then I forget about it. And I don't know how long, it was like a week later, I think. Somewhere around a week, I'm not sure, it doesn't matter. Not long after, I had gone to lunch. So at this point, Rick and Suds are now back in the afternoons after the move and the switch to when Paxson bought us. We're going back to the afternoons. And I think I'd gone to lunch, and I came back, so it was somewhere, I don't know, somewhere around the 2 o'clock time when they were going on, or right before they were going on. Anyway, I come back. I'm going down the hall, heading towards the studio, and Suds comes out of the studio down the hall, opens the door, and he's walking towards me. He sees me, and he just starts laughing. Like, what? And I immediately look down and see if my fly is open. It's not. And he's laughing, and he's got his coffee mug, and he's laughing. I go, what? Is there something on my face? What's so funny, dude? And he goes, oh, man, you're going to love this. You're going to love this. What? He says, David, the national sales manager, he goes, came in yesterday. Maybe I'd not worked the day before, or I'd missed him, or maybe I'd left early for something. I don't know. Anyway, tells me the day before, David had come into the studio during a commercial break to talk to Rick about some live read stuff, which Suds didn't have anything having to do with. Once in a while, but very rare. Rick did all the live reads for whatever commercials. And as he was standing there talking to Rick about that during the commercial break, when he was leaving, he goes to the door, and right before he's leaving, he looks down at Suds. He says, "Suds, oh, by the way, is Wayne Roberts your son? And I'd forgotten to tell. I didn't know. I just spaced on the whole thing that had happened a few days before. And I hadn't seen Suds in between, so I didn't say, oh, by the way, if David asks, didn't have to. Because when David said, the sales manager, when he said, Suds, by the way, is Wayne Roberts your son? And Suds went, oh, yeah, you didn't know that? I'm jumping. Wait. So, back to crisscrossing with Suds out of the studio in the hallway, and he's laughing, and I'm like, what's going on? He says, so David comes in, and he does this, and blah, 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 and he asked me, and I was like, oh, shit, I forgot to say. He goes, yeah. So he asked me, and I go, yeah, you didn't know that? And he looks at me, and he goes, now I see the resemblance. And left the room. Obviously, there we go, side by side. What resemblance? There's no resemblance, really. Especially because I'm 5, at the time I was 5'11", now I'm 5'10", but maybe 5'9". And Suds was never been taller than 5'7", I don't 5'7", 5'6", maybe. He was a little guy. And we don't look alike. Well, maybe right now we do because we're both laughing. But anyway, oh my God. He was dead serious. Oh, now I see the resemblance. And it was so great. That's how connected we were. I was, because as he's telling the story, I was like, oh shit, I forgot. He's like, don't worry. Let me finish. And duh, I should have. And there it was. Oh yeah, you didn't know? Now I see the resemblance. That fucking guy's still kicking. Suds passed a few years ago, and it was pretty weird. I still remember it. It was a day. I was still in California, and it was a day. It was very rare when it happened. But I woke up in a fucking foul mood. I'm all by myself. I don't know what it was. I wasn't hungover or anything. I just woke up feeling, what the fuck? Fuck this. Fuck this. Yeah, I was still. Yeah, I needed some mushy, and I probably did not long after, because we're here. But I was just in a foul mood. I'm like, why am I so fucking angry? What the hell I wake up so angry for? What the fuck? I'm even asking that stuff, and then anyway, get online a little while later, and boom, I start seeing Suds passed yesterday. What the fuck? And it was a few hours later, and it kind of explained, oh, it's kind of weird, huh? No other reason why would I? It's like I knew. I don't know. Sounds weird. I don't know. But it was a very rare thing where I would just wake up fucking pissy. And didn't have a need to. It wasn't nobody to annoy me. I'm by myself. I got my place to myself. It never happened. I woke up pretty happy. Smoke a bowl. Be cool. But yeah, that day, I don't know. Oh, wow. Does this explain why I was so fucking pissed off for nothing this morning? Wow. He really was kind of my dad. I don't know. That's one of my many Suds stories. Well, I told the thing last week, Whip 109, about getting arrested, and Norm Kent being my lawyer for my first lawyer ever for my drunken disorderly outside the Billabong in Hallandale. That was Suds' spot. If all the Rick and Suds fans knew, if they wanted to go meet Suds and hang out with him, have a fucking beer with him, they could find him at the Billabong a couple times a week at least. Cool little pub. I had my little going away when I left for Tennessee. I had my little going away party there at the Billabong, and a lady that worked in the building with me that I became friends with, she worked for a different company, but we were in the same building, in that Hollywood building. At my going away party, most of the bong was filled with, the people there. There was fucking 25, 30 people-ish. But there were still some people on the other side, playing pool. There were other people still there at the bar and everything, but the place was full. But the majority was there for my little thing. But one of the other guys that was with a buddy of his playing pool was a guy that had dated my friend Stacy before, a few years before or something. Anyway, they start talking. Whatever, come to find out, from that night on, they've been together ever since. They got married not too long after. So this is what we do. This is what we do. We bring people together. It's all synchronicities. Notice that. I brought titties into the synchro. Ness? When? What? Get off my foot. Suds fucking Coleman. My other dad. And, I didn't get a pic. That's because it just popped up and I forgot to go do it. Whatever. Damn it. Whatever. That's cool. We can just go back to that because I forgot to get a picture of Jerry Springer, who just, when we got 15 minutes left, who just popped up today, passed away at 79, Jerry Springer. Another, which I'm like reading this one, oh shit, another person I've worked with, tits up. It's like, oh yeah, there's another radio story. When I was at Premier Radio Networks from 05 to 08, I took care of I was a utility guy there. I did a lot of different things. So I worked with Rogan for a day for an interview thing that turned out he was getting interviewed by by Sonny Fox, who I'd worked with in Miami. So it was like, holy shit, and Joe, we have the same birthday. You're 3 years older, but 4 years old. I don't know. And Jesse Jackson's daughter, I worked with her. Did Coast to Coast AM. Dr. Laura, I worked with. I was Dr. Laura's backup producer, and I used her studio. Had to use her studio because that she wasn't ever in. She only did this show from the studio on Thanksgiving. Otherwise, she was in her home in Santa Barbara in the studio. You were just in the studio, empty, doing the show. She was on the ISDN line. But when Jerry was on Dancing with the Stars, early days of Dancing with the Stars, and he kept lasting, he had a radio show, and he was part of Air America at the time, that network Air America, that had Randy Rhodes, who had been on WIOD. She was like the female Neil Rogers, they called her. But no, that was wrong. Wrong. When Jerry was here, when he was in LA, he had a radio show on Air America, and he lived in Cincinnati, I think it was. And he did his radio show there, and mostly did his stuff there, and then had his TV show wherever they shot that thing, whatever, in Ohio or whatever. But being in LA for Dancing with the Stars, he would stay for the week. They had a lot of days of shooting, so he was doing it. They rented out Premier Radio Network studios using Dr. Laura, because he was on in the morning, so it was before her show was on. He was on early, very early, and we did the whole hookup thing with that, and I was his engineer, so he was basically sitting like right on the other side of my desk. There was no glass. It was in the same room, and we did that. I think it was almost maybe more than a month. And I was shocked as shit because he was so fucking cool. I hated his show. I hated it because, I was part of those. This is making everybody dumb. But, you got your choice, whatever you want to watch. But it was, that whole talk show flood of crap in the 90s and whatever. Either way, I was okay with it because he was super fucking nice. Super fucking cool to me. I worked with him for like a month, almost every day. And I had to hook up a thing where I was talking. I had in my ear, I had his producers, and so did he, back in Cincinnati. So they were still, but I was during breaks or things, and I would while he was on, I would write little notes or say something during a break on actually this, that, and the other, because things that I knew that his producers didn't know or he didn't know. He used a lot of my shit. He didn't tell me to not say things. He would, because I was leaning, I've been called a conspiracy theorist since '05, and this was 08-ish, I think, '07, '08. And I've been 9/11 truther for way before that, so I was deeper into things going, oh, wait, no, well, this, yeah, it's a little deeper than that, what you guys are already talking about in that segment. It's actually, there's a little extra with this and that, if I saw it here. And he'd bring it up, and then they'd talk about it, and all of a sudden, I'm like, all right. So he liked my input. It was really neat, because there was nothing he ever turned down that I remember. He was always super fucking nice. And we're talking early in the morning, all by himself, no crew. He didn't have a bodyguard or whatever, or any, what do you call it, posse, because you would assume that Jerry Springer would have a posse, right? I did, because that's what we do here, because we're stupid twats. My sister had this friend who had a baby. Oh, fuck, I got a cramp. I forgot about that. I missed that because I was pissing. That's my favorite part of the joke, actually. He dived in, went straight to the bottom. And no one took any notice or paid any attention. And after a couple of minutes, someone rescued him. He was really pissed off. I said, "What happened, Ed?" I said, "Ah, fuck, I got a cramp." God, Rodney Rude. There's stuff on YouTube. Check it out. So what do we got? We've done a fucking commercial for Rodney Rude. We've done a commercial for Neil Rogers, Rick and Suds. Oh yeah, and you can go through that. When you see the page there, Neil Rogers Radio or Neil Rogers Show on YouTube. You saw the thing. Look it up. There's all kinds of. Go back and listen to Neil. Oh man, so many years of it. The 94 through 97 stuff is when you'll hear maybe a mention of me or something that I might have carted up for Neil. After that, you might have heard he still used that drop, I think, later on, where there's a drop that he used where I was trying to record one of the first little tags for a commercial. One of the first things I ever did voiceover-wise. And the owner, who was a douchebag of the building, was showing somebody around, and I was in the room with a coworker trying to record this tag to put it on a commercial. And the owner of the building just opened the door and just came in to show people. And there's the on-air signs right there by the door, and it was lit. The microphone was on. Oh, sorry. Door shuts, because I'd been trying to get this out and couldn't get it right. So I was already kind of annoyed, and then as the tape was still rolling, I went, I want to go out there and break that fucking guy's neck. And whatever, and I stop and rewind for a second to redo it. And I hit play, and Kim, my coworker, who was trying to get this done, because it was part of her gig to get it all in, for the logs and stuff, make sure it was going to get on the air. And I hit play instead of rewind or something. I accidentally hit a wrong button, so it played it back, and it played the little thing where I went, I want to go out there and break that fucking guy's neck. And she started, and I went, and she starts howling, and I went, oh shit, I was recording. So she goes, oh, you got to give that to Neil. You got to cart that up for Neil. I'm like, was he going to, all right, yeah, maybe. And I did. I bleeped the fucking, and I gave it to him. He enjoyed it. So anything from 97 on, you might hear it once in a while. And anything that the dude that curates the Neil Rogers page, YouTube thing, and website and stuff. There's a lot on there, and there's some inside stuff. Once you gotta listen to it a few times to sort of get to it. What's going on? Kind of like this podcast. You listen to it a bit to go, oh, I kind of, all right, because some things you might not, the dryness you might not catch. And some of the parody songs and the bits that he played from other stuff that was produced, and some in-house, but a lot of it was other places, and Boca Brian songs, Guitar Man songs. Guitar Man fucking skipped one of my first times working the overnights, and I had to play Neil Best ofs, and in between they told me that I could just play stuff out of the cart instead of playing PSAs for commercials, because there were no commercials on the log in the overnight because it didn't sell very much. Not many people, so it could fill the time in. And I was playing Guitar Man bits next to Batline fucking rings, and some guy I've never spoken to. Yeah, I don't know. Nobody ever told you this is Guitar Man, and I've heard you've been playing. I've been listening and playing a bunch of my stuff. Nobody ever told you apparently that every time my stuff gets played, I get paid a lot of money. So somebody messing, and I'm like, oh shit. I'm just getting scared. I'm shitting in my fucking pants. And after, he's got me going for a couple of minutes, and finally he goes, I'm just fucking with you, brother. I never heard anybody play stuff like this, like play the best of Neil stuff like this. What you're doing, this is pretty neat. And I went, oh, cool. Because I don't know, just trying to get creative, and I knew if I had a little bit of leeway, being in the overnight, being at 3 a.m, nobody, not that big of a deal. So I was putting all kinds of stuff together. It was neat. Because other people that did it just filled those 4 minutes breaks with PSAs over the same PSAs over. We had a whole rack just for PSAs. That if you didn't have a commercial, if you needed the time, just throw this 30-second PSA in. You fill that block, and some people just fill. I got so sick of listening to those fucking things. I played a couple, but then I'm like, fuck it, fill the time with all these bits. That's what people want to hear. And I know there's geeks out there because I see that phone just still going. But I was also told, don't answer the lines. You're playing tape of the overnight. Those people don't ever do it. And I did, of course. First, like that. Those are crazy people. Yeah. After watch them blink 3 a.m, the phones are. Am I on the air? I'm on the air. Okay. Go ahead and hit it. What's up? Yeah, you find out they're fucking crazy fuck. So after a while, you forget that thing's even blinking, unless it's live show. But in the overnight, just playing tape. Yeah. Guitar Man fucking. I didn't mean to tell the Guitar Man joke. He did a lot of. You'll hear a lot of. If you listen to Neil stuff, do it. You'll hear a lot of Guitar Man bits, and a lot of them. He did it over the phone, where Neil would just go to him over the phone, and over the phone he just. No, and it's some great shit. Hi, Larry, us. Wait, oh man, what is this here?
Friend who had a baby.
Okay.
And when the baby was born without the arms or legs or a body. It was just.
All right, I just want to make sure. Cause, yeah, thank you, Lisa. I had to make sure because we're getting up here to the close, and I wasn't sure if I had the close red eye to go. I didn't want to hit the wrong thing, and I like to get that stuff right on the button, is where we like to say. So I didn't get to Jensen Ackles. I didn't get to the Nashville cop story with my buddy from WIOD, SS. I didn't get to the A-Team 6th grade Halloween story, and I didn't get to the Maher Blue Room story yet. Hey, we've been babbling some stuff, but smartly keeping it. Got to keep it to the 90 minutes, because it's just seems perfect, I think. So far. Is that a joint? Oh my God. How scary. Oh, look out. Oh my God, we're getting high. So where are we at? To Suds, to Neil, to Jerry. Springer. Little Bill Burr. Springer. Whatever. All right, let's get going. Why don't we? Hope you had fun. I do. Watch James Corbett Report. Jimmy Dore Show, Russell Brand, Kim Iverson, Revolutionary Blackout Network, and others. Look for yourself. I'm just a fun, babbling lecturer. Dabbler? Remember, all Neil, a.k.a. One. Sorry ran long, had to bump comedian Dave Landau. Thanks, Gary. Daddy loves you. Messing with my peebles. That's what I say. Right? Right.